this meeting to order. Monday, October 27, 2025. Village board meeting. Pledge of allegiance. To the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Leo,
Here.
Trustee Bowden,
Here.
Trustee Hudson. Here. Trustee Richards,
Here.
Trustee Sandberg,
Here.
Trustee Sluse,
Here.
Trustee Sturba is absent.
Do we have any public comments? Move on to the consent agenda. We're going to approve the minutes of the October 13th, 2025 regular village board meeting. Approve the payroll and accounts payable, and approve this village hall closure on December 24th in observance of the Christmas Eve being a floating holiday. Payroll accounts for the period ending October 11th are $77,762.24. Accounts payable for the period ending October 24th, 2025. General fund, $12,585.57. Building permit escrow fund, $3,650. And the TIP 1 fund, $7,500. For a total of $23,735.57. Move on to staff and committee reports.
Motion.
I'm sorry.
Second.
That's right.
Can I get a motion?
Motion by Sluse and second by Hudson. So, Trustee Bowden,
Yes.
Trustee Hudson,
Yes.
Trustee Richards,
Yes.
Trustee Sandberg,
Yes.
Trustee Sluse.
Yes.
5-0.
Now I'll move on to staff reports. Troy, you want to start this off?
Sure. The only thing I have is a consultant did the bridge inspections for Corning and Ridgeland, the two bridges that Peotone own that are due for inspection. Structurally, the bridges are good, so that's good news. There were just a couple routine maintenance items they recommended, so we'll look into those. But they submitted the inspection forms to IDOT, which is required, and the next time they are due for inspection is 2029. That's all I have.
Good. And we're going to jump ahead to item H.
We need to do the rest of our staff reports.
You want to keep them talking?
No, that's, his item is later in the agenda. It's just a staff report. So, Bob and Chief.
Sorry. Bob?
I wanted to add to Troy's bridge inspection comment, or report. Those two bridges fall within a drainage district. There was something in the report about the creek needs to be cleaned out in areas, so I'll contact the drainage district in regards to that. So I think we pay $3,600 a year for that fee to drain into that district, so I'll do that. Brush pickup ended today for the year, so it was a good year for brush. Leaf collection's ongoing. We're in our second week. Volume is low right now, but I think it's going to be like a bomb going off here soon. So, street sweeping's ongoing every day. Obviously, with leaf collection, we try to run that kind of behind it. You'll be approving payout for the Conrad Street, I believe, tonight. There still is some punch list items, the final landscaping, some areas they missed, so they'll come back and repair those. So, last week I attended IPW Man, if you're not familiar with that. That is our mutual aid network, kind of like the fire department has MAVIS, Public Works has IPW Man. So, if we have a disaster, man-made or natural, we have the resources to get here and give us a hand. So, went well there, learned a lot of tabletop exercises. That's all I got.
They were
pouring on Corning last week, running conduit. Who was that? Was that Pavlov again?
Pavlik.
Oh, still?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's still some fiber in a few spots. You're gonna notice, I think it's called CCG. They're another fiber, they're like a subcontractor to Pavlov. They've been doing a lot of work too. So that was a question I think the front office sent me today. So they're out of Champaign also. Pavlov.
They're together. I think.
Or together,
They're-
yeah.
Pavlov and CCG are.
Okay, I thought Pavlov was done, I didn't realize they were still holding conduit.
And they're, I mean, right now they're running a lot of services to the
That's what
homes.
they're doing.
So, yeah.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Thank you.
Chief?
Good evening, everybody. Sorry, I got the packet out late too. I was at the chief's conference and then so I printed and gave it to everybody today. I didn't get it to Nick on time to be sent out with the rest of them. There are just a couple things that, if you don't mind, I go over. If you could turn to page 7. Pages 3, 4, and 5. They gave you a brief thing of the chief's conference. But I just wanted to go over page, I skipped page 5. Page actually 6, sorry. This is I discussed the flock cameras that we're getting on a grant. This is the kind of the snapshots of where they're gonna be put. So the one on page 6 is just an LPR camera, it's just a license plate reader camera. As you see, it'll be on the corner of Ratchie, and it will read everything coming into town and everything going out of town right there. I'm just gonna go kind of quickly. On page, if you have any questions on it, you can see me and I can show you on my computer as well. So on page 7, this is the railroad street lot. So that wide screen you see, that'll be a live feed camera. So that'll show live feed. Anything that's in that wide thing there will be live. And then that smaller inner dark thing, that'll be the LPR. So any of the cars that pull into there, it'll read the plates that pull into there. Otherwise it'll cover everything from 2nd Street to almost Main Street. So, and then on page 8, this will be just a license plate reader camera on Wilmington and Drexler, because that's an area that comes into town that currently isn't covered. So we'll also be able to get plates coming into town and going out of town at that intersection, and it'll get them right before they turn on the Wilmington Road from there. The next page, page 9. It's that same one again, sorry, I put that on there twice. And then on the bottom of page 9, I still need to talk to the Baumgartners to see if we could tap into electric, but the idea here is, because this is the place that we've had some burglaries to the thing, this is just a live feed camera. It will pan, and it could be set to go from the subway to the gaming cafe and pan back and forth. If it detects any movement, it'll zoom in directly on that movement. So I can set it for the evening. Let's just say like 10 at night to 6 in the morning, 5 in the morning. The officers have the flock open in their cars right now. So if it detects any movement, it'll beep in their car. The officers can then look at the camera to see what is this movement in this area of town, because nothing is open. So why is there a person walking, or why is there a car here at that time of the night? And then it'll zoom right into the car, and if you happen to see 4 or 5 people getting out with bricks, they're probably not shopping. So then they can start headed that direction at that time. Give a little bit of warning before we get alarmed, because as we know.
Is that on a pole or something, so it's up a little higher?
Ideally, we would like to tap into the Baumgartners, one of the street lights that are there, but I need to have a conversation with them about that. So, the top one, the top picture on page 10 is the same thing on Railroad Street, the red one, but if you look at the purple one, that would also be a live feed camera that could pan. It is facing Railroad Street. That's just the way it pan, but it'll pan all the way to First, all the way down to where the coffee shop is, and then it'll pan all the way down to 2nd Street, almost all the way down to North Street. And it can go all the way back and forth, and it'll wrap around to almost the front of the police station if you were to follow the wraparound. The only place that it wouldn't wrap around is right behind, like the corner cafe would be a dead zone, because it's mounted to actually our camera right there, or our pole right there on the corner. So the bottom picture, currently on Wilmington Road, we have a license plate reader. We're gonna add a live feed camera to that license plate reader. And this is a fixed camera, it doesn't pan, but that is the area view that we will get. So it'll kind of cover the first, if somebody gets off the expressway and goes to the first gas station there, we cover what was going on there. And then if you go to the final page, page 11, we currently have a license plate reader there, which is indicated by the small purple line there. And then we're adding a live feed camera there, which is fixed just like the other one. And that is the area of vision that camera will see at any time. So, and then all the officers will have access to just pull these cameras up at any time when in their squad cars driving around. We'll also have them, I'm gonna have them in the squad room here. We have a set in the back, so like if Miller's here doing something, he can also see the cameras to see what's going on at any time. So all those cameras are paid for by a grant for 2 years. Then I just need to find money after that. Do you have any questions on any of that?
No?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Anne Marie, give us a quick update on the finance.
Hi, so you all have the treasurer's report, I think, in front of you. I'll just kind of skim through the notes that are in front of the schedules. This is through September 30th, which is 6 months through the fiscal year. The very first column on the first page of the report reflects audited numbers. So that's where the village landed at the end of fiscal year 2025. And those, like I said, those numbers are audited, so they will not change. The general fund at the end of 26, which is the final column, or I should say at September 30th of 25, in fiscal year 26 is estimated at about $11.02 million. The majority of that amount is invested in longer-term investments like CDs. I think we have some treasury bonds, things like that, so it's not just cash sitting in the bank. Policy states that the village needs to have at least 30% of operating expenditures set aside in its reserves, and that 11 million amounts to about 2.57 times the amount of annual operating expenditures. So you're well over what your required reserves are, which is always a good thing. The property tax levy, the village has collected almost all of its levy for the year. We're at about 97% of the levy. We'll get a little bit of straggler distributions coming in as people that are late on their taxes pay them before the tax sale happens. Income and sales tax are trending higher than budget if what we collected today continues for the fiscal year, which is always good. I know I think we've added some different commercial entities. We've gone through the sales tax list with the state, so our sales tax continues to increase. Our utility taxes, income tax, other revenues of the village are either trending at budget or a little bit above, so that's always a good thing. It's only 6 months through the year, that trend can obviously change, but so far, so good. And then all of the departments in the general fund are operating at 50% or less than budgeted, which is good because we're 6 months through the year, you don't want to exceed 50% of your budget, especially those items that kind of recur on a monthly basis. Motor fuel tax fund is trending as it should. That fund provided funding for the Crawford Street paving project, and we've only spent about $22,000 of that so far out of this fund. As we spend more, we will transfer that money out of MFT over to capital. Business development fund, in the audit, it actually reflected a negative fund balance because we didn't do the transfer from the general fund to BDD that we had budgeted for the downtown development project. We didn't do that transfer because there was enough cash in the fund that we didn't need to, but the numbers reflected here do show that transfer so that we weren't kind of showing that negative fund balance. It was really just an audit number as opposed to really a negative balance. So I did do that transfer, and then as part of the 2026 budget, we were paying back some of that $875 that was borrowed to the BDD fund, and that's also reflected in that fund balance on the report. TIF fund, TIF 2, which is the travel center, we collected about 91% of the increment that was budgeted, so that's a good thing. That also might trickle in over the next couple months as past due taxes are paid. And then in our CIP fund, the biggest project that we have ongoing is the Conrad Street Storm Sewer Project. I believe there was an invoice on the agenda tonight. That is funded by ARPA funds, and we've, as of September, we've collected about $564,000, and then we just submitted another reimbursement request that will pay us the max amount of the ARPA grant that this project has. So, any questions, comments? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now,
So just real quick in spirit of brief, the overlay district and facade improvement, that's working its way through the process. The Planning and Zoning Commission met October 15th and had a workshop on that. We are looking to schedule another meeting of the Planning and Zoning, probably a special meeting before our December meeting, with the hopes of getting a positive recommendation out of there and being able to approve the overlay district, possibly at our December meeting, and bring the facade improvement through the board process so that both of those could be approved in December and we could launch those formally in 2026. The other thing I just wanted to touch on is, as you may have noticed in the past, we approved the tuck pointing project was completed, but Public Works staff was out recently power washing some of the bricks and repainted the handrails. So thanks to Public Works staff, we're continuing to kind of make this building look as nice as it can for what it is. So appreciate their work on that. So I'm going to stop there and move on to the main agenda. So
I'm not going to add any more comments today. I'm going to jump to item H, the ordinance. Item D, approve payout number 3, partial to Iroquois Paving Corporation for the work completed on the Conrad Storm Sewer Project in the amount of $84,646.85. Can I get a motion?
Motion. Second.
Motion Sluse, second Richards.
Trustee Bowden?
Yes.
Trustee Hudson?
Yes.
Trustee Richard?
Yes.
Trustee Sandberg?
Yes.
Trustee Sluse?
Yes.
5-0. Now let's go to speech. Let's introduce it first and then.
All right, item H, we're going to jump to, is to approve, this will be ordinance 25-10, and approve an ordinance granting a fence variance for a certain property located at 113 Wesley Drive. And Troy's going to give us a brief.
I'll start off, Mayor, and then let Troy jump in if he needs to. So this is, some of you who've been on board or been around, fence regulations are not found in our zoning ordinance, but are within the general municipal code. And so requested variances are not subject to review by the Planning and Zoning Commission, but the village board. So that's why it's here. The applicant was here tonight, submitted their request, and has been reviewed by myself and Maura Rigoni from Robinson, who's been helping with some of our planning things. And she wrote a memo that was in your packets with some of the considerations. I'll highlight a few. The Peotone Code does not specifically define parallel fences or establish a minimum distance between fences, although it's kind of commonly that it's not a regular thing to do parallel fences. So Maura dove into some other municipalities in Illinois and looked at what they did, and there's a variety of definitions that we might want to consider going forward, but some do require 5-foot spacing between fences, if not directly on the property lines. It would be practical to allow that here. I'm going to have the applicant come up in a second, but I'll just give you a high level kind of the problem, and he can define it maybe a little bit better. This is a new home construction east of 50. There was an existing home to the south who built their house and put their fence, and somehow their fence is 2 feet off the property line. We believe, through kind of just observation, there's a drainage pipe there, and they were trying to avoid the drainage pipe of either going into the drainage pipe, or they just didn't want the fence right on top of it, so they went 2 feet off. So in order for this new home to be built and put a fence, the only way they could connect to the neighbor's fence is to go on the neighbor's property, which obviously you don't want that happening. So the alternative, which obviously some communities have done, is to allow a variance and allow the new fence at this applicant's property to be off the property line, or, you know, to allow for that distance. And the point of the distance is to allow for proper maintenance between the two fences, which is obviously why you don't want a 1 foot or 2 feet, because you couldn't get a lawnmower in there. And I think that's where 5 feet is kind of, my guess is that's why these other communities selected 5 feet as an suggested distance between the fences, because you could run a lawnmower or get in between. So I'm gonna invite the applicant up if he would like to say a few words, or just if you have specific questions. Steve Sorensen, his wife Tina.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, thank you so much for hearing. This is my wife Tina and I. So we're moving to town. I'm looking forward to coming to your community. We were doing some planning and, you know, where we're gonna put the fence and stuff like that. And I had a friend that came out and he made me realize that you guys have a no parallel fence ordinance that's in place, which makes complete sense. And I pulled my tape measure out and realized that I've got 10 feet on each side of my house to my property line, because there's an easement on the south side. And like Mr. Palmer said, that the fence is 2 feet off the property line. So, and I know the most important thing, like he said, was also to maintain the property. With his fence being off the line 2 feet, and if you did impose a 5 foot, you know, minimum, I would lose 3 feet of my yard, which is, it's substantial. But I know the most important thing about that space that we create between these two properties is to make sure that it's maintenance, not an eyesore. So I'm very meticulous to my maintenance of my yard, and in Mr. Palmer, in previous discussions with him, you know, he says, what happens if you move and somebody else comes in? I said, well, I tell them that if they don't take care of that property, the village is gonna come make you take that fence down, okay? So, but there's also, there, you know, in another thing, Mayor Chris talked tonight about, you know, possibly putting down some weed barrier and putting rock in there, which would be very easy to take care of. It just zip around and get some dandelions killed, but it would be visually appealing to the neighborhood. I don't think it would look bad. So we just asked the board to consider allowing us to get a fence without chewing up as much yard as we have to. We have dogs, or we have a dog, so. But any solution that you guys could propose to us, we would welcome. So, do you have any questions at all? Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So the other thing, the ordinance is written that the fences are no less than 5 feet between them. So I just want to point that out. I mean, we can obviously change that, I believe, if you were so inclined, but I don't know. That's, if there's any other questions. I know there's a history of fences here and some issues. When we look back in 2019, there were a number of variances granted for some of these fences, so that's why we're kind of using some of those as kind of guiding maybe some of these and other communities, so.
So why didn't the homeowners with the other fence, because there was drainage pipe, that's why they didn't put it on the
That's the
property line?
best we
Or
can-
we're just guessing?
I mean, we're guessing a little bit, but I was out there, I wanted to go out and see it again today, so I went out and walked the property myself. And there is a large storm sewer at towards the front of the property that goes, like most properties, it's going to the back and then going to wherever the stormwater's going. But I think they just, I don't know how they were allowed to do that, or, you know, there
Was
wasn't.
it right on the lot line?
The storm pipe is right on the or on the lot line. But their fence is about just shy of 2 feet inside their property.
But they didn't have a choice in that matter, or?
Well, I don't know what I don't know.
Right.
But that we didn't find a variance, or, you know, when it was inspected, and I don't know exactly when that was, I mean, it's not probably that long ago, but it was allowed to be constructed, so. I mean, it is a challenge because it creates a domino effect sometimes, but.
Do we know how deep that storm sewer is?
I don't. Troy, would you have a guess?
I would have to go out there and pop the lid and check.
I believe it's about 4 feet.
Okay.
I have a friend that's a fence contractor that came out and he says he thinks about 4 feet, that it might jeopardize He said that, I think you guys have a minimum of how deep your footings have to go on your fences. I think it would sit right on top of that sewer if you were gonna put one right on top of it. But, there's a manhole in front, there's one in the corner, and there's also one in the back, so there's a variance behind our property also, or excuse me, easement behind our property also, so.
And typically rear yard storm sewers are pretty shallow. Probably
Well,
the case.
with the 5 feet, they could get a mini track hole in there if something happened to the storm sewer, dig it up then.
Right. When you put up an expensive fence like that and.
That way
you
you're
know,
not taking the fence down.
Yeah.
I think you just allow it for a space and just make sure that it's maintained. If not, come out and find me, or find, clean it up. Add to your revenue, but no, it'll be maintained if you guys allow it, so I appreciate it, thank you.
It's got a very valid cause. Is there any other questions on this fence?
So is the easement on both lots? If the pipe is right in the middle, there's an easement on both lots?
I believe the easement's probably 10 feet, so it's probably 5 feet either direction.
Yes.
Any other questions? Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion Sandberg, second Richards.
Mm-hmm.
Sluse?
Yes.
Trustee Sturba is not here. Trustee Bowden?
Yes.
Trustee Hudson?
Yes.
Trustee Richards?
Yes.
Trustee Sandberg?
Yes.
5-0. Thank you.
We'll jump back to item E. Item E,
Thank you.
Thank you.
the resolution 25-R-21. Resolution approving the software and services proposal and contract for BSA Cloud in an amount of $82,000, not to exceed $82,920. This is something that we sorely need here in the village. It'll bring us into the modern ages, and Nick's gonna explain that a little bit.
So I'm gonna try to keep this brief unless you want more details, but we've, as I've said at the two AOC committees where we discussed this and had a demonstration, the village currently uses a very labor-intensive process with a small staff, and as demands grow, this makes work more challenging. By moving to a modern system, it will increase efficiency and effectiveness and allow staff to manage that workload. It brings most of this information into one modern system. We've talked through the process, we've looked at BSNA, we've looked at a couple other systems. We believe this is the best. We've talked to several municipalities that have implemented it and seen demonstrations of various modules like their community development, which we think would be extremely helpful to our process, which is very paper-driven here. The cost is spelled out in my board memo. There's the subscription fee on an annual basis, and then there's the one-time cost of data conversion, database setup, custom import, project management and implementation, and training. We talked about this at committee. We believe we can reduce that cost, but the vendor suggested we put it in and then work to reduce it just because they want to make sure we have the ability to do the appropriate training and rollout, because this is a big process. If we approve this, we will get in line, and it could be 6 months. Hopefully they can move it up, but there is just a time frame for that, which does push us into the FY27 budget. So along with streamlining and trying to find efficiencies and cost savings in this year's budget, we will also just have to budget for this in the FY27 budget. But I believe beyond, well, just the efficiency and saving of staff time, which isn't easily always measured, but it's gonna eliminate a lot of the paper processes and streamline work so that we can better serve the public and make information more readily available. And we have Anne Marie here if she wants to add anything, or if you have questions for her, because she's worked with the system in other places too, along with a bunch of other systems too, I guess, right? So, but we think this is worth the cost and will move us forward.
So, do you have any questions?
I saw $82,000 and thought, wow, that's a lot. So you just said you wanted to go for that amount and then reduce it down?
I mean, that includes the first year, which the annual cost is $20,430.
Okay.
That's a set cost for the modules we're getting with this. The balance of that is for the implementation and setup, which is pretty critical, because we're moving some information over. Some areas we don't have a lot of information to move over, but we know that Anne Marie has implemented this before and has experience with it, so she can replace some of that cost just by her work here. And not gonna, we wanna do it right because we wanna launch this, but we think this is what drives our entire process, budgeting, payroll, and I will say, I don't wanna disparage our incumbent, but we've had issues with our payroll where Diane's working through payroll and it just disappears. And then we have to call Locus and say, what's going on? And then they have to kind of try to figure it out. And they're just not built to grow, where BSNA is in a lot of communities and is constantly making improvements to their system. So they're gonna grow with the municipalities that are using it and keep making it better, so. But there is a cost, and no doubt about it. But I think for something this critical for our function, it's worth spending the money, so. If you would-
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think that, and I know we've talked about this before, so I'll be super brief too, but I mean, Locus is just kind of a little bit of a time bomb, I think, with just how it works. They have one developer, they don't forward think, they don't do user groups to kind of get our input, they don't make improvements like quarterly, like most software companies do. And there are truly glitches in the software that make it just not work, like something disappearing when she's doing payroll, or it numbers checks incorrectly, just crazy things. And then we'll call and we'll talk to support about it, and that one developer in the back room will go and fix it, but never explain to us what happened or what was wrong. So I really do think that moving to a different software is the best direction for the village. And we did look at other softwares, and I do believe that BSNA is the best one out of the ones that we looked at, and the ones that the village can afford, because some of them, it can cost you $1 million to implement a financial system. As far as savings, I truly think that we'll be able to save some on that one-time cost that's on that proposal. I've implemented it before, I understand the software really well, I use it at other clients, I've gone to their annual conference for the last 3 years. So I've really learned a lot. They won't take it out of their proposal, because if I win the lotto and never come back here, then you guys would need more support. But I truly don't think that we're gonna end up spending that amount of money, because I think that we can do a lot internally that we don't necessarily need them for. And then they won't bill us for those extra implementation days or extra training days.
How many people are gonna be using this?
So because it's, everybody's gonna use it for payroll.
Okay.
Probably not right away, because it'll take us time to kind of roll it out, train everybody.
Yeah.
But our goal is to have everybody put their own timesheets in, so that we're not getting paper timesheets that have boot marks on them and stuff like that. They'll be able to look up their W-2s, their paychecks on it, and that kind of information. They'll be able to change their tax withholdings through the system. So I think everybody will use it to a certain point. The super users are obviously gonna be myself, Diane, because we do the most of the financial transactions. But it will help other departments. We did put into the proposal, I believe, the work order module.
We talked about the committee,
Okay.
but we didn't, that is not
That is
part of
not in
this.
here.
That would be
Okay.
an additional cost that we could add later.
Okay, sorry
but
about that.
it's- No, that's right.
Yeah, but the work order module would be helpful to the public as well as Public Works, because we could manage all of our kind of task-related work through that system.
Would it eliminate these envelopes that we get in our mailboxes too?
It definitely will.
Okay.
It definitely
So
will.
people can go out and get their own
You know,
W-2s,
go
their
on a
own
portal,
stuff, like a
like-
normal.
Yeah, like
Normal?
Yeah.
like most people do in 2025.
Sure,
Yes.
thank you.
So you're not printing the paper, you're not wasting the envelope, you're not
Okay.
wasting somebody's time stuffing the envelope, so.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Eventually, there might be a way for our vendors to submit their invoices electronically through this system. So there's a lot of pluses and things that we can do in the future that we don't currently do, that if we stick with the software we have, we'll never be able to do it,
Mhm.
so. And it will drastically automate some processes, especially the community development process, which is very paper-driven right now. So.
Can you give some examples of that?
Well, I don't do that process, but I see that I remember they have a notebook where they actually handwrite the permit number. I see the amount of paper and the handwritten notes that we have everywhere. And if somebody's not here for the day, nobody else can find that folder that contains all the permit information. With the system, you'll be able to have all of that in the system. Anybody can look up the address or the name or even the contractor name. You can search different ways and get all the information about that permit. People are able to apply for permits online, so some of your simpler permits you can do online to start.
So there's a portal for residents?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yep.
And
Yep.
there's a dashboard for all this stuff so that we can track how many,
Yeah, there's a lot of metrics you can track.
how many applications are in process, how much are waiting to be approved, when the permits are expiring, so we have a tickler file to say like, these are all gonna expire, we need to chase the people down and say, you need to renew or close it out,
Yeah,
so.
residents will be able to, sign up for inspections, to schedule inspections online.
Mhm.
So it really, I think it's gonna really streamline that whole permitting process.
Yeah, we looked at this in two AOC committee meetings, and I haven't gotten a report on either one of those meetings, but I'll give a report right now. The first meeting, we kind of choked on the cost, and there were questions, and that's why we asked for a little more information. We came back the second meeting and actually got a presentation to dig into it and see what this software would do. And you know, the improved efficiency, enhancements, modern platform, more transparency, it's just, you know, it's a lot better than what we have right now. And even though that there's a cost, I mean, there always is when you move ahead in technology, I think the AOC committee, as well as the mayor, felt that it was a good idea to move ahead on this.
I'm on team, it's a crazy amount of money, you know. I mean, it's about priorities. I mean, is this something that you wanna prioritize and say that this is important?
I think this is very important.
Okay. But we gotta remember that when it's budget time.
Right, it's money well spent, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't pay that much for Locust to net a lot against the cost of this, but I think.
I don't mind the
60,000,
annual
so-
rate, you know, 20 grand
Yeah.
I think is fair.
Yeah.
But the 60,000 of implementation is,
Yeah, and that is what we're hoping we'll be able
Yeah.
to decrease, you know, not in half or anything like that, but any
Yeah.
dollars.
I
we
mean, the
can
fact that
take
you
off
said
that.
that you know how to use it and you'll be able to train other people, I mean, I think that's a very compelling story, so I think
Yeah,
that's.
and we've already been doing a lot of work outside of it, we've been cleaning up like vendor names and things like that, we've got thoughts on restructuring our chart accounts to make more sense. So we've done kind of a lot of the background work already without their assistance,
Yeah.
so.
I like that too. Thank you.
I just have a little PTSD from software implementation.
I've implemented this one twice and I don't have any PTSD.
Okay, well, good.
It is very user-friendly as
Yes,
well.
Yeah,
When watching the presentation, it was all very, very easy to follow.
yeah.
And when I've talked to several administrators, I know Anne Marie's worked with other communities that have done this, they've all been very positive. I know one community, their community development was not crazy about it, and I had heard that, and I talked to the administrator, and he said they were concerned because they liked the product they had, but once they got into BSNA and started using it, they love BSNA now. So sometimes it's the skepticism, not knowing, but when you get in and use it, it's pretty good. So they were all very high, spoke highly of it, so.
I'll make the motion.
Second,
Motion Bowden, second Sluse.
Trustee Hudson?
Yes.
Trustee Richards?
Yes.
Trustee Sandberg?
Yes.
Trustee Sluse?
yes.
Trustee Bowden?
Yes.
Okay, 5-0.
Okay, moving on to item F, This will be resolution 25-R-22, resolution authorizing the execution and reciprocal exchange of information between the Village of Peotone and the Illinois Department of Revenue. This one was a little tricky for me, but I fully understand it now. I talked to Nick about it, so Nick's gonna explain it real
I
quick.
don't know if that was that good an explanation, but, so for me, I mean to you, so this is Illinois Department of Revenue, they have a thing called My Local Tax. This is super guarded information, they make me sign away my life, say I can't share it with anybody really, but, this is information that deals with like tax collection and allows us to monitor to make sure. They presented at IML and they said, we do a lot of work, but we're not perfect, so we need people in the field helping, saying like a new business came into town, once they register and I get a notice, like, I'll give an example, Dolomiti came into town, I got a notice that they had registered and now they're on our tax list. So as they pay taxes through sales tax and things like that, I can see that. So this is a tool that the state offers to us. We partner with them and help them keep quality control. This is something we did last year, and it's an annual thing, and if you don't renew it, then you get blocked out. So I'm actually didn't realize that after I came back from IL, and I tried to log in, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm out," because it just expired. So this is getting me back into that. So there's a letter, and the mayor has to sign a document that just says we're going to follow all the rules. So it's helpful as we kind of track our economic development success, hopefully.
Any questions?
Nope.
Motion.
Second.
Motion Sluse, second Richards.
Trustee Richards,
Yes.
Trustee Sandberg,
Yes.
Trustee Sluse,
Yes.
Trustee Bowden,
Yes.
Trustee Hudson.
Yes.
Okay, 5-0.
And item G, this will be resolution 25-R-23. Approve a resolution authorizing the execution of an IGA by and between the Illinois Office of Comptroller and the Village of Peotone regarding access to the Comptroller's local debt recovery program. That one, I will definitely let Nick explain.
So my memos are designed to be somewhat historical for reference in the future, but it's also for you all. But just a quick history, in January of 2024, the village set up the administrative adjudication process, so that began. There's a number of ordinances that set that up. And then in January 2025, we signed an agreement with Municipal Collections of America, or MCOA. If as a fine or a fee, traffic ticket, what have you, goes through the collection or the process through administrative adjudication, goes all the way to the end, they haven't paid, we send it to MCOA, they chase these people down, try to collect the fees. This program with the Comptroller's Office is kind of an extension of that, or another tool in our toolbox, that if somebody really is running and paying a fine or fee, if they're a state employee, their payroll can be docked, if their taxes are being submitted, they can collect some of their rebate or that kind of stuff. So this is just another tool. I don't know that we'll use it a lot, but it's a free service to municipalities. The Comptroller's Office has been great to work with as far as helping with approval of the IGA. There is still a number of paperwork steps we have to prove that our notices and everything are proper, but again, it's just another tool in our toolbox for people who owe us traffic tickets, ordinance fines, etc. So that's what we're looking to do.
Any questions? Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion Sluse, second Sandberg.
Trustee Sandberg,
Yes.
Trustee Sluse,
Yes.
Trustee Bowden,
Yes.
Trustee Hudson,
Yes.
Trustee Richards.
Yes.
5-0.
Jumping down to item item I. Approved cleaning services agreement with Welch Cleaning Pro. This is something that I had Nick look into because I was not very satisfied with the way our offices were being taken care of. Nick researched this for me, and do you have any explanation on
Yeah.
that?
So previously, when I started here, we had somebody who came twice a month and was paid $500 a time, which I thought was a little steep. So I move it to just once a month, and staff kind of filled in and did some of the cleaning in between. And for the most part, our offices aren't heavy traffic, so it doesn't need a deep clean every week or two, but it's still good to have. But long story short, the mayor gave me this company. It's locally based here in Peotone. I met with them. They gave me 2 proposals. One was to do a weekly cleaning for $825, or monthly cleaning twice a month at $450, so that's a better price. Previously, our arrangement, the village provided the cleaning materials. With this company, they provide their own. So there's a savings in the cost and doubling the amount of cleaning. And they did come in and do an initial clean, and they did, I think, a very good job, very thorough job. There are some other kind of complementary things we may want to, like clean the carpet in here and do some other things, but I think they're gonna be very good, and it's just nice to support a local Peotone business rather than an out-of-town business. This is just above my approval, so I figured I'd bring it to the board, and I think it's just a positive. And unfortunately, they couldn't be here tonight. They wanted to be here just to say hello, and but good stuff. So
That saves us money.
Motion.
Motion for,
Second.
motion Hudson, second Sluse.
Trustee Bowden,
Yes.
Trustee Hudson,
Yes.
Trustee Richards,
Yes,
Trustee Sandberg,
Yes.
Trustee Sluse.
Yes.
5-0.
And item J, resolution 25, will be resolution 25-R-24. Approve resolution authorizing a new phone system with Rival 5 Technologies Corporation. That one Nick did a lot of research on for months and months, and I'm gonna let him explain that again.
So the village has an existing phone system, which was, I believe, in the 2020 era was when they obtained that. It functions okay, but when looking at the pricing, it was very high to what's out there now. I initially worked with one broker who obtained 3 quotes, were all relatively competitive. I did some reference checks on those and got some mixed results, and I was alerted of a 4th option, which was Rival 5 out of Mokina. They work for a number of the school districts in the area, including Peotone, but some other governmental bodies and private sector companies. It's a very good price, very good product. It is a 60-month agreement, so 5 years, includes maintenance and general technical assistance. The monthly charge, so kind of a reoccurring thing again, is $283.87 for the phone system, or $3406.44 annually. There is a one-time charge to deploy new phones and equipment. There's a second item on the agenda after this about purchasing switches, which I didn't realize when I came in here that, I guess I wasn't really concerned about that, but we don't own the switches, so we are gonna buy switches. This is with Leading IT, but as the mayor said, there's a lot of time spent on this, a lot of moving parts. I give a conservative estimate, but we can save a good chunk of money when this is all said and done. First with the phone system, but there's some wrinkles to this because our public works facility has a different provider of internet service than the Village Hall. Village Hall is going to have Pavlov soon, and we're not gonna pay for that, so that's additional savings. And there's some fax services that I have to kind of unwind, but at the end of the day, I'm predicting that we can save between $500 and $750 a month, which was pretty substantial, I thought. The thing that I've learned through this is phones back in the day were easy. You just plugged them into the wall and you did whatever. Now phone systems, especially VoIP, are very technology driven, and so it does involve a lot more IT components. But this system is going to give us all the bells and whistles that our current system does and more. Things like some of us, our system does this, but like you get a voicemail, you can go to your email. You can the part of their reduction cost is you have less dedicated lines, and they call it bursting. So if 5 people are on the phone, we're paying for 5 lines. If we are constantly running 6 or 7 lines, if you didn't have a burst system, they would just get a busy signal. But they allow you to go beyond your lines, and track that, and if you're constantly going over, then they're gonna say you really should buy some more lines, or you're gonna get busy signals, but you're paying for less service basically unless you use it, so that's part of their savings. I thought it was attractive to have not Peotone, but a local group that's gonna be very hands-on and helpful, so. And again, my goal, and I think I said this in the memo, is savings, but also good quality products with savings, so I think this is a good thing, and I think I will track it and report back later if we can get the prices, you know, and some of these other ancillary things down further, but the goal is to save money and get good quality, so, that functions, so.
How many lines can we burst to?
Well, it's basically you can do up to double, so if you have we're gonna start with 5 lines, if 10 people are on the phone at once, we can still do it without, is my understanding, without getting a busy tone. But there's an additional tracking period where they see how many times you're getting close to that, but I think it's rare that everybody's on the phone at the same time, so you're basically using the lines, and see, that's how you save, because the old way was you sell, if you had 16 phones, you sold 16 lines. Well, we don't need 16 lines because not everybody's on the phone at the same time, so there's some flexibility there, so.
Anybody have any questions? You got a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Motion Richards, second Sluse.
Trustee Richards?
Yes.
Trustee Sandberg?
Yes.
Trustee Sluse?
Yes.
Trustee Bowden?
Yes.
Trustee Hudson?
Yes.
5-0.
Jump to item K, approve authorizing purchase and with leading IT for Meraki Ethernet switches and licenses in the amount of $5,505.
So this is what I just spoke about. This is something we need to buy. I question, do we need that many ports and switches? And it's kind of planning a little bit for the future and giving us some flexibility. In the checking that we did do, this seems competitive for the pricing. And leading IT will be involved in this implementation because obviously working on our system, but this is necessary to make this go, so that's what it is.
I even looked on Amazon for these things, and Amazon sells them for almost the same prices they're offering them here, so.
Motion.
Second.
Motion Richards, second Bowden.
Trustee Sandberg?
Yes.
Trustee Sluse?
Yes.
Trustee Bowden?
Yes.
Trustee Hudson?
Yes.
Trustee Richards?
Yes.
5-0.
Any questions from the press? Any other correspondence, communication, or petitions anybody wants to bring up? We have an executive session. We're going to talk about collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. Second, litigation when action against, affecting, or on behalf of a particular public body has been filed and is pending before the court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is improbable or imminent, in which case the basis for a finding shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting. That's number 5, ILCS 120/2C11. Item 3 on this is the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee or public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee or of the public body against legal counsel for public body to determine its validity. It's 5 ILCS 120/2C1. We're going to adjourn for the executive session.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion Hudson, second Sluse.
Trustee Bowden?
Yes.
Trustee Hudson?
Yes.
Trustee Richards?
Yes.
Trustee Sandberg?
Yes.
Trustee Sluse?
Yes.